Hello, this is Chaplain Edwards, and I'm here to go over your free exercise of religion training with you. Hello, this is Chaplain Edwards with the Chaplain Corps, and I'm here to go over the free exercise of religion training. So this is just to affirm what the Air Force practices, which is that through giving you the free exercise of religion, it places a high value on the right of members. Now, religion is defined as a personal set or institutionalized system of attitudes, moral, ethical beliefs, and practices held with the strength of traditional religious views. This includes groups that affirm and groups that do not affirm the existence of a supreme being. So you don't have to believe in God to have this right. So the overview is that today we're going to be looking at a couple of very important definitions: religious freedom and religious accommodation. We're going to be looking at the foundations of where these things come from the Constitution, federal law, various DoD and AFI instructions. We're going to be looking at the role of the Chaplain Corps in religious freedom for members and supporting supervisors and commanders with accommodation. And then we're going to be looking at some resources for you. So as we get started, let's look at two different important definitions. The first one is religious freedom. Religious freedom, as you can see, is the right of service members to observe the tenets of their respective religions or to observe no religion at all. No one's forcing you to do anything. Religious accommodation is allowing or providing for individual expressions of sincerely held beliefs, unless doing so would have an adverse impact on military readiness, unit cohesion, and good order and discipline. Basis of this freedom comes from the Constitution. The First Amendment to the Bill of Rights guarantees freedom of religion. The First Amendment states, and I quote, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof," unquote. The Establishment Clause is what it's called, It prohibits the government from establishing a state religion, promoting one religion or faith group over another, or endorsing a religious-based way of life. The Free Exercise Clause protects our right to hold and exercise our religious beliefs, as well as our right to hold no beliefs. Right, so the Free Exercise Clause protects the right to observe religious beliefs as we choose and implies the right to hold no religious beliefs. However, in the military, religious expression may be restricted due to military necessity. It may be helpful to look at religion as an inward belief, internal, and an outward expression. So first, let's look at belief. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993 states, quote, "Nothing in this chapter shall be construed to authorize any government to burden any religious belief," unquote. Second, religious expression can be identified as action and speech based on sincerely held religious beliefs. So religious expression is acceptable unless those expressions would have an adverse impact on military readiness, on unit cohesion, on good order, discipline, health and safety, or mission accomplishment. In some circumstances, the government can restrict the expression of religion, but to do so, it has to show two things. One, a compelling interest, and two, that it used the least restrictive means of furthering that compelling government interest. In 2014, there was some further clarification in DODI 1300.17, and it said that, quote, "Unless it could have an adverse impact on military readiness, unit cohesion, and good order and discipline, the military departments will accommodate individual expressions of sincerely held beliefs of service members in accordance with the policies and procedures in this instruction," unquote. The DoD has a compelling government interest in mission accomplishment. That's why we exist, right? Issues such as military readiness, unit cohesion, good order, discipline, health, and safety of personnel are compelling interests to the military. For example, an essential part of unit cohesion is establishing and maintaining uniform military grooming and appearance standards. In accordance with DODI 1000.29, the DoD places a high value on the rights of members of the military to observe the tenets of their respective religions or to observe no religion at all. It protects the civil liberties of its personnel and the public to the greatest extent possible, consistent with its military requirements. AFI 1-1 addresses the free exercise of religion and religious accommodation. It states, quote, "Every airman is free to practice the religion of their choice or subscribe to no religious belief at all. You should confidently practice your own beliefs while respecting others whose viewpoints differ from your own. Every airman also has the right to individual expressions of sincerely held belief, to include conscience, moral principles, or religious beliefs, unless those expressions would have an adverse impact on military readiness, unit cohesion, good order, discipline, health and safety, or mission accomplishment." The Air Force balances the free exercise of religion with the requirement and necessity for mission accomplishment. The goal is to be an airman-centered as possible and to provide a religious accommodation whenever possible, and for all airmen to respect the differences of others. Are you still awake? That was a lot of legalese. Let's get into some fun stuff. So, the Chaplain Corps. Chaplain Corps programs are the responsibility of the commanders. Chaplains function as staff officers and impartially advise commanders in regard to free exercise of religion. The chaplain service also addresses accommodation issues at the group or the squadron level. We're the ones that deal with accommodations when people are trying to make them. They assist in ensuring the right of individuals to practice their faith in accordance with their conscience, suggesting alternative ways of meeting their religious needs when military necessity restricts. Chaplains provide ministry to those of their own faith. They also ensure the ministry is provided to those of other faiths, and they provide care for all service members regardless of their backgrounds. We call it we provide or we provide for. If we can't provide the service because it's not our faith group, we'll try to help you find and meet that accommodation to meet your own religious needs. In these varying roles, they respect the rights of others and the individual beliefs of others, including the right to hold no beliefs. Communication made to a chaplain by an individual in trust and as a formal act of religion or as a matter of conscience is privileged and protected communication. There are no circumstances in which a chaplain can disclose privileged communication revealed in the practices of his or her ministry without the member's informed permission. It's the policy of the DoD that individual rights will be valued, but DoD cannot guarantee that these rights will be guaranteed in all circumstances. The DoD, the Air Force, and the Air National Guard expect that service members will respect the religious beliefs and practices of all members in a manner that's consistent with DoD policy. Commanders and supervisors are expected to respect the religious beliefs and practices of all members in a manner that is consistent and fair to all. And in keeping with DoD policy, requests for religious accommodation should be approved by commanders when the accommodation will not have an adverse impact on military readiness, unit cohesion, standards, or discipline. So by now you're probably asking yourself, I wonder what the different kinds of religious accommodation are. Well, lucky for you, I'm going to tell you. Requests for religious accommodation generally fall within the 5 areas. Okay, first one is worship practices, meaning what you do, how you worship, when you worship, etc. Dietary practices, what you can and can't eat, and if it has to be prepared a certain way. Third is medical practices, things you can and cannot observe. Fourth is religious apparel, things that you need to wear in observance of your religion. And then fifth is personal appearance and grooming. Two things to keep in mind here. One is that if you get a request approved for one of these religious accommodations, it's not for the rest of your career. It's not a carte blanche, but it is something that services may request or may require that you do a new request if you transfer to another unit or another duty station, right? If you have any questions about this, talk to your chaplain. We can walk through all of this with you and help you try to get this need met. So if you're trying to get an accommodation, here's the basic 4 steps. You're going to submit a written request for religious accommodation to your supervisor and to FSS. The FSS is going to make a request to the installation commander. The installation commander is going to be advised by the chaplain and the JAG, and we'll have an interview with you and anybody else that's required is appropriate. And then the installation commander makes the determination or refers the request to the next appropriate authority. So here's an example. An airman would like to attend base chapel service during duty hours. The chapel service does not conflict with mission essential duties or taskings of the squadron. So here's three possibilities. The airman supervisor denies the request and tells the person to go to church on her own time. Right? Well, that answer could violate the airman's religious freedom rights. If there's not a compelling government interest or an essential mission requirement that prevents the airman from attending worship services, the supervisor could be violating the airman's religious rights. B, the supervisor seeks guidance from the chaplain and the JAG. That's always a great answer in situations like this. Always a great way to go. Third, the supervisor grants the request to accommodate the airman's religious practices. This would be an appropriate response to the airman's request. So in this scenario, B and C are appropriate answers. All right, here's another scenario. An airman would like to wear a religious headdress as part of his or her uniform. So option A, the supervisor seeks guidance from the chaplain and the JA. Again, always good in these circumstances. Second option, the supervisor encourages the airman to submit a letter to FSS to begin the process of religious accommodation request to the installation commander. That would also be an appropriate guidance to give the airman. And third, the supervisor immediately denies the request. Supervisor may have violated the airman's freedom of religious rights. So in this case, both A and B are best responses to the scenario. Respect for all airmen and commitment to a climate in which individuals of diverse beliefs form an effective team is essential to achieving excellence. Thanks for listening, and if you ever have any questions, go talk to a chaplain. Thank you.